Marley, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on Newsfeed today. 1 in 3 young people have been bullied online, a UN report says, and many find that the bullying doesn't end when they log off. Firefighters in London have to tell people to call them before hitting record on their camera phones. And snooze, you lose. A British MP has gone viral for his relaxed attitude to the Brexit crisis. And at the top of our newsfeed, cyberbullying. The United Nations has carried out a massive survey of young people all around the world and found that 1 in 3 have been bullied online. 1 in 5 say that online harassment has carried over and they've been bullied in places in real life. Now, we spoke to someone who's faced bullying on the internet and who found the bullying didn't stop when she put her phone down. Meet Tamutonye.
So when I was 17, I think, I was crazy. I wanted to have fun. I thought doing a nude shoot would be interesting. So I did it, and I've started taking the pictures. Young me, I did not delete the pictures. I left them in my email, in a draft. And years later, I woke up one morning and someone had sent me an email telling me that if I don't pay money, that they're going to release my pictures on the internet. Like, thinking about it now, I just want to cry because it was really, really hard for me. Because you know how the internet is. Like, anything that goes on the internet, nobody cares about your side of the story. Everybody just wants to crucify you, wants to judge you. Like, I was afraid, I was embarrassed, and I was really ashamed of myself because at that point, I'm like, what will people say when they see my naked pictures on the internet? Like, I was really, really ashamed of myself. And at some point, I was going to send the money to the person but then I thought about it, this person has the pictures. So even if I send money, there's no guarantee that this person will not come back again for more money. So I did a very hard thing. I told my siblings about it. Of course, they were really upset with me. They scolded me. Luckily for me, I had a family friend who was also an IT personnel. And then this person, I don't know how he did it, but he was able to track the email, the IP address of the email address. And then he sends the person an email, like sort of to scare the person and buy us time. By the end of the day, we had to contact the email provider of the person, and I think the email was blocked. And I think what saved me was that the person didn't actually save the pictures. Probably the person just hacked it and just had access to my email, but didn't actually save the pictures. Because after that day, I didn't hear from the person again. I remember when I thought about who's going to marry me after seeing my pictures on the internet, like who's going to give me a job. Because I don't think any respectable company would want to hire anybody who has like naked pictures on the internet. And I thought about killing myself really because I didn't see any point living on. I didn't see any point because like, what's the point? Maybe if I just die or something. But yeah, I'm really happy that I got over it. Like, it's a few years ago, I couldn't talk about it without actually crying or, you know, getting all teary, but I'm happy that I can talk about it now comfortably. The thing is, I learned really early to look at things from 2 perspectives, yeah? I've noticed that when people share hateful comments, when people do these things, they're only projecting their own fears, they're projecting their insecurities on you, and I know better. And one thing that helped me is my faith, and I strongly believe in God, and I believe that I have a purpose here. I believe that my stories are meant to help other people. Like, when you share your stories to people, people learn.
Yes, they do. And now UNICEF says there's much we as users can do to try and reduce the amount of bullying that happens online. It also has advice for parents on how to talk to their children about it. But the main call from UNICEF comes from direct to the tech companies themselves, who many people feel are not doing enough to stop the abuse.
Given the internet and given social media, bullies have suddenly got a megaphone. So whereas once, you know, children, their bullying would occur, as odious as bullying was, bullying would occur in the school and in the playground, but now the home, that place that should be safe, clearly isn't. physical impacts. You know, kids lose sleep, they have headaches. That has an impact on their schooling. Kids are missing school, they're avoiding school, and their relationships. You know, their relationships are being stretched because of this as well. You know, there's a great saying which is, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." Unfortunately, this just isn't the case anymore with social media, when something that can be so malicious and harmful can go viral so quickly. So social media providers need, they need better ethical guidelines, particularly when it comes to how they use and gather information of young people. We need more helplines around the world. These are a great source if they're well funded. Teachers and parents need to be trained. These things are really key. I mean, so the internet's done incredible things. We know that. We know opportunities exist right now that would never have existed when I was a child. They're beyond what we could have imagined. So the internet and social media really does bring out the best and worst of human nature, but it's the responsibility of social media companies to mitigate the harm and to expand the opportunities for young people. I don't think it's about just putting down your phone. I don't think that's an answer for parents. Obviously, less time on phones and devices is always good. More real time with your friends is always beneficial. But at the same time, if you are finding you're being online bullied, don't respond. You know, bullies need oxygen, so try not to respond. You can take evidence of it, of course. There's lots of ways to take screenshots. Talk to someone, talk to a parent, talk to a friend, talk to someone you trust at school. Similarly, parents have a big role in this, and a lot of that is just around parenting. The more time parents spend with their kids, the more chance they've got to know their social media habits, but also the more chance they've got to know if the kids' behavioural patterns have changed at all, and therefore to think, well, maybe my son or daughter is being bullied.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the other things that caught our eye on social media. A fashion company called Forever 21 ripped off looks from an Ariana Grande music video and is now being sued by the singer. Forever 21 agrees to take down the images after Grande complained back in November, but the lawsuit says the post stayed on the shop's site until April. Grande's lawyers say a single post by her is worth well into 6 figures. The London Fire Brigade is having to tell people to use their phone to call them before they start filming stuff for social media. They're using the hashtag #Call999 for the campaign and say don't ever assume that someone else has called. Amazing, really. And for shame for anyone who films an accident. What is wrong with you? The London Fire Brigade put this out.
We attended an 8-pump fire last year in Mayfair on Curzon Street. We'd received 15 calls to fire. I was the first watch manager in attendance, and it was clear that there was much more than 15 people recording on the phone. A delay in phoning 999 can increase the risk of fatalities. The volume of calls received out of control is an indication of how severe the incident is and gives them the chance to dispatch the correct level of resources needed.
And we told you yesterday about a woman who took in 97 stray dogs in the Bahamas. Now, she wanted to keep them safe during Hurricane Dorian. She's now announced that she's raised $65,000 from donations for their continued care. Now, a retailer called ShopRite has closed stores in South Africa, Nigeria and Zambia after people in those countries began looting the shops and businesses owned by people from other countries. The violence is worst in South Africa, where people who live in poverty are complaining of the high unemployment rate.
My company has like 10 staff. Among all these 10 staff, they are all South Africa. They are all South Africa. It's just me alone and my partner that is in Nigeria. Then what else do you guys want us to do? We create job. We came to create job for them. We're not like stealing job from them.
and there has been plenty of fallout from the violence, from football to truck drivers. Here's Melanie in Cape Town.
The violence has really escalated this week. Almost 100 people have now been arrested for these attacks. And what we've seen is mobs moving through business hubs, particularly in Johannesburg, the commercial capital of South Africa. They've been targeting foreign-owned businesses, torching cars, and targeting foreign truck drivers across South Africa. And it's all happening as leaders, political and business leaders, gather in Cape Town for the World Economic Forum, which is supposed to serve as a platform for investment from across the continent. There's one tweet that reads, "I'm going to engage on the fourth industrial revolution and the future of work while the country falls apart in the background. It feels like the orchestra on the Titanic." Now, Rwanda and Malawi have confirmed that they won't be attending the WEF. They haven't given reasons. The Zambian football team has cancelled a friendly match against South Africa's Bafana Bafana. The Nigerian government has tweeted out that it's sending a special envoy to South Africa, and the Nigerian government also appealing for calm after Nigerian protesters targeted South African-run businesses in Lagos overnight. We have to remember that Nigeria and South Africa are they're the two biggest economies on the continent. It's a very important relationship. There's a state visit by President Buhari that's scheduled for next month, but there's always been tension over migrant workers. Today, the police minister is meeting with migrant worker groups at hostels. He says this isn't xenophobia. He says this is criminality and that the intolerance is an excuse to loot. But on Tuesday, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa did tweet out a video where he called the violence xenophobia. Again, he's reiterated that South Africa is a home for all and there's no justification for these attacks. Right now, parts of Johannesburg remain on lockdown. The Ethiopian government has advised its citizens to keep their businesses closed until the violence is under control. The Zambian government is advising their truck drivers not to drive to South Africa. And we do expect that several other countries will issue similar warnings. And it's very clear that Africa is saying to South Africa, enough is enough.
Okay, let's keep spinning around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Wednesday. A family who live in Australia have had their deportation delayed. They are Priya and Nadislengam, and they've arrived in Australia from Sri Lanka separately back in 2012 and 2013. Their two little girls were born in Australia. They've had their asylum applications repeatedly rejected and were due to be deported last Friday, but a last-minute injunction was granted. Another hearing into their case will be held this Friday. 100 women have been killed in France so far this year, and that's led the government to try and do something to stop the violence. It plans to spend $5.5 million to open 1,000 women's shelters and to audit how police respond to reports of domestic violence. Huawei says the US government carried out cyber attacks, harassed its employees, and has obstructed its business. The Trump administration has banned US companies from working with the Chinese tech giant and pressured governments not to work with the firm. And in London, you can't have missed the fact that the UK is going through a historical moment. Brexit looms on Halloween, and there may or may not be an election before then. So spare a thought, or not, for Jacob Rees-Mogg, who's gone from political caricature to one of the most powerful men in British politics right now. And all that power seems to have made him a wee bit tired. Video of him lounging in the House of Commons while one of the most consequential moments in modern British history was being discussed has gone viral. His repose prompted this response from the Green Party MP, Caroline Lucas.
His body language throughout this evening has been so contemptuous of this House and of the people. And for the benefit of Hansard, the leader of the House has been spread across around 3 seats, lying out as if that was something very boring for him to listen to tonight.
All right, that is all from the Newsfeed team. Reach out to me. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel. See you again tomorrow.